Give now the floor to the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Azerbaijan.
Thank you very much. First of all, of course, I join the previous speakers with the words of thanks to Austria for hosting this event and looking forward for the next year to Italy, a lovely country where I used to serve as ambassador, that they will host us again in a year, 1 year period. One thing which I would just want to discuss, my Armenian colleague already just indicated that, because we are discussing here the conflict resolution. Yesterday, together with the co-chairs, we spent 8 hours negotiating on the Armenian-Azerbaijan conflict resolution. And from one point of view, it's good. It's the invigoration of substantive result-oriented talks. Just can raise some reasons for cautious optimism. Of course, we are very bound, as it was also indicated here, to a meeting of President of Armenia and Azerbaijan in Geneva on October 16th of this year, and it was a right step in the right direction, because this meeting proved that attempts to precondition the resumptions of substantive talks are doomed to failure. And following this summit, I think that, as my Armenian colleague already made a reference always to co-chair countries, even trying to speak on their behalf, I will also use this as we focused yesterday on a very substantial issues with a view to find out the ways of bringing position of two sides, Armenia and Azerbaijan, closer toward the settlement. We agree that next year, in September, second half, we will have more substantial discussions on how to move forward the peace talks, in particular areas to finding out the common language. However, I have to admit that we have a serious concern that our Armenian counterparts are very non-intentionally interested in taking necessary political steps to move beyond the unsustainable and unacceptable status quo. And the proofness to that, Yerevan continues to unlawful practice of altering demographic, cultural, physical character in the occupied territories of Azerbaijan. Even the latest development, which was making us a huge concern, that opening of church in the occupied Jabrail district, which is beyond of NK, and which never ever even one single Armenian used to live. And it's totally populated by Azerbaijanis who are ethnically cleansed in '93. This is for us, it's another manifestation of Armenian gross disrespect for international humanitarian law. In parallel of its provocative actions on the ground, Armenia rejects our initiative to dispatch need assessment mission to the occupied territories comprising of relevant international institutions. Such steps, I think that, and including the armed provocation along the line of contact, of course undermine the peace efforts and shall be comprehensively addressed by the OSCE Minsk Group and its co-chairs. OSCE participating states, we believe, should implement their commitment under the international humanitarian law and human rights instruments to prevent and reverse illegal economic and other activities of the natural and legal persons wherever located. I want to make a reference, of course, as a basis for the relevant UN Security Council resolutions, principles of the Helsinki Final Act, and decisions and documents of OSCE formed the basis for the conflict resolutions and mandated the co-chairman of Minsk conference. The particular resolution of 1990, resolutions of United Nations Security Council 93, not call, but demand, not even urge, but demand immediate, complete, and unconditional withdrawal of occupied forces from all the occupied territories of Azerbaijan, and urged assisting return of internally displaced persons to their homes. The underlying concept of this approach is based on removing consequences on the conflict while differing remaining political issues for future negotiations within the Minsk conference. I think that one also element which I want to do is, of course, upcoming meeting will demonstrate how Armenia is a serious partner for peace and genuinely interested in engaging constructively in substantial talks to reach a breakthrough and resolve the conflict And of course, for obvious reasons, it's not a secret, Azerbaijan, as a member state of United Nations, is also reserved rights to act under Chapter 7 of UN Charter. And of course, in the conclusion, I have to say that, as it was again stated and join my voice for a number of speakers about the conflict and blatant violation of the territorial integrity, sovereignty, and internationally recognized borders. And we observed this similar position in Ukraine, Georgia, and the Republic of Moldova. Of course, my country believes that lasting solution to this conflict mentioned above can only be assured through respect for norms and principles of international law, particularly those pertaining to sovereignty, territorial integrity, and inviolability of international borders of all member states of OSCE. It's a must, I believe. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.